afternoon, everyone. I was asked by Professor Sunderland to make a video of a class teaching about the benefits of yoga for primarily mental illness, or maybe I should rephrase it and say to maintain mental health. Okay. I'm Sharon Hanfouche. I'm actually a professor of geology at UC, but in my time away from there, this is my second home. This is my studio, and I teach group classes in yoga, meditation, qigong, and bar, and I do privates. I'm about to finish a 3-year program in yoga therapy down in the Philadelphia area, and so come June of this year, just a couple months away, I will be a certified yoga therapist, right? So I've been doing already, as part of the training, a lot of one-on-ones to help people deal with kind of their various issues, some of them physical, right? Some people have just really been sedentary for a long time or have some physical illnesses that have hindered their ability to do things physical to maintain their health. But a lot of the people I deal with come to me really for mental issues, emotional issues, stress, anxiety. I've just begun working with a young woman who is anorexic. And it's interesting because when we met, she said that her team, who is helping her through this, this health issue, has stressed that she is not allowed to do any physical postures in yoga. The fear is that she will overdo and kind of let that become a way to burn off some of the calories. But we're meeting to work on breathing, right? To work on body image issues and things like that. So there's a really valuable role for yoga with a lot of issues, and the research supports it, right? As a scientist in geology, it's something that to me is actually really important. Personally, I felt the benefits myself, but as a scientist, I like to kind of have some support beyond anecdotal, and yoga has it, right? Yoga, pranayama, which is the breathing, and meditation, it's all really valuable. And there's plenty of wonderful anecdotal accounts out there that support it as well. So today, I think what I'd like to do is let's kind of pretend that we have a mishmashed person, right, who comes in and maybe has some stress or some kind of chronic anxiety disorder that has kind of mushroomed and is interfering with life. And let's along the way also kind of weave in, maybe this person also has experienced some past trauma, physical trauma that may have happened years ago, but is still with them in many ways today, stored in the body, and affecting their decision making and interactions with other people, things like that. And so perhaps they've come to yoga. Before we even start, let me ask you guys, how, with all of this going on, the coronavirus crisis, being, staying at home to stay safe, it's a huge change in our routine from day to day. Different for sure, maybe more work placed on you because of the online format being so, kind of self-driven in many ways. And of course, some people, when they go home and are not on campus, have new responsibilities to take care of, like a younger sibling, or help with a grandparent who lives at home, or various things, right? So take a moment and pause and just kind of ask yourself, how am I doing in terms of stress or anxiety? Give it a little thought. And then the second question is, based on your answer to that first question, if you are experiencing a significant level of stress or anxiety, how do you think it's manifesting within you? And is it staying within, but you're feeling it, showing up in interesting ways, maybe emotionally, maybe physically, maybe in terms of sleep or what you're eating? Or is it really becoming external, and it's affecting interactions with the people around you. Take a moment and think about that. Okay. Hang on to those questions, and I'm going to ask you those same questions at the end of a practice that we're going to do. So before we talk for long, I really would like to do a practice with you, right? So, go ahead and pause the video if you need to, and get into some comfy clothes, and find an area where you have a bit of space to move. Maybe you have a yoga mat you can roll out, maybe not, that's fine. In that case, I would say, find a carpeted room, and let's do a little movement, okay? Now, what we're going to do is weave in some of the things that I would do with a one-on-one client who comes to me, having a great deal of stress or anxiety. And I'm also going to, as I said, try to weave in some of the things that I would do if this person also had experienced trauma in the past. In terms of the trauma, the way it'll kind of show up in the yoga is really twofold, right? I'm going to try very hard, and I taught yoga for quite a while before I really started learning and being trained to deal with trauma in my participants, and so I can make mistakes for sure. I'll try to catch those, try to avoid those, but the issues really are provide choices, right? So invite people to stay here, or if you'd like, you could perhaps do this, or if this feels good today, perhaps do this. So kind of offer choices to give the participants a feeling of power or self-power, control, right? And then the other way it can manifest is sometimes those issues of trauma are stored in the tissues. And when the participant experiences a pretty kind of intense or deep stretch, sometimes the emotions bubble up and bubble over and come out, and perhaps they'll start to cry. And so the only other thing that, as a teacher I can do is try to cultivate a class environment or a one-on-one environment that feels safe, so that when that happens, they can perhaps just sit with it and not run from it. Maybe sit and observe kind of non-judgmentally and let it be, right? Let that experience happen. Other issues are, as I'm cueing postures and so forth, sometimes being quite open in the front body can create fear in individuals who have experienced trauma, okay? So those are kind of the main ways that, or kind of main things I would keep in mind as I was working with an individual with trauma. And when it comes to stress and anxiety, it really, a lot of it is get the participant out of their head, right? When you think about it, when you're stressed, and it could be very real stresses, right? It could be an anxiety disorder where, I have one, so sometimes it's not logical, and what you're feeling in the moment is not even in response to a real, current stressor, okay? But either way, the stressors that you're, feeling or imagining are very, very present in your mind, and you're focused in your mind, and you're playing through many scenarios and, what ifs, and, if I don't do this, what happens? What if I do this, what happens? Why did I do that? And you replay almost like your own video clips over and over in your mind, right? So get them out of the mind is the goal. And a lot of how we do that is with the breathing, okay? In yoga, breath control is called pranayama, and there's a number of different techniques for breath control. We'll go through one to start with. We'll do an asana practice, which is the postures, and then when we finish, I'll give you another couple of pranayama techniques that are helpful sometimes when you're trying to help people get out of their head. And I'll show you one also that is helpful for people with the other side of the coin, which is depression. Let's face it, in this current crisis, it's scary, it's stressful, but if someone has, an issue with depression, it can really cause that to come out full force. Or even if you don't, you can experience even, some mild symptoms of depression on your own. Okay. So let's find a comfortable seated position and ground downward. Right, ground down the sits bones, as we like to say. Those are the points at the base of the pelvis. Make that firm connection with the mat beneath you, the carpet beneath you. I happen to be seated on a block. Sometimes it's comfortable to elevate the hips up higher than the knees. But whatever you're seated on, make that connection with what lies beneath you. Start to build your foundation. If it's comfortable for you, let the eyes close. And it is not comfortable for everyone. And so if that's you, just let your gaze soften. Maybe take your gaze down a couple feet in front of you. And focus on that foundation. Let that physical steadiness begin to cultivate within you a sense of steadiness, a sense of stability, sturdiness, strength. And at the same time as you're grounding downward, begin to also very gently extend upward, gently lengthening the body, gently opening the front body to make room for the breath. It doesn't have to be bored straight like Miss Manners, just so you're not slouching, closing off room for the breath. Take your awareness inward. Take a moment to notice the physical body this afternoon. Every day we come to the mat, we bring a different body with us. What is that which arrived with you today? Maybe in our current situation, you've been sitting more than usual. Maybe it's created a little stiffness, a little achiness. Maybe you're feeling a bit of stress. Perhaps you can notice if that's showing up physically for you and where that might be. Notice without judging, just with curiosity. And now take your awareness to your breath and notice it. Just like every time we come to the mat, we bring a different body with us. We also bring a different breath. So notice it this afternoon. Notice its pace. Notice the position within the body that the breath is residing today. And notice if today the breath feels smooth and steady and strong, or perhaps not. Sometimes we find the breath is a little bumpy or ragged, maybe a little hesitant. But whatever it is, simply notice. noticing does two things for us. Number one, it brings our awareness right here on the mat, right here in this moment, fully present. And number two, noticing is the first step to changing. And so now begin to take intentional control of your breath. Begin to slow its pace. Make your inhales longer. Make your exhales longer. The average adult breathes only 40% of their capacity, less than half. And yet we used to all be expert breathers when we were babies and toddlers. And so what happened? Why the change? Well, try to picture in your mind's eye the last time you saw a baby or a toddler. And in your mind's eye, try to watch them breathe. Notice that babies and toddlers puff their belly out big and round. And we don't do that, but we used to. So why the change? Well, we didn't stay babies and toddlers, right? But really, why the change? Well, I think by about 5th grade or so, we had already been bombarded with thousands of images of actresses and models. They all had, they were all 6 foot tall, wearing a size 2, and they all had flat tummies. And the message was sent and received pretty clearly. Oh, I'm supposed to have a flat tummy. And so we sucked it in, closing off some room for the breath. And by about the same time, we started to get enough schoolwork that we couldn't get done in school. We had to take it home. We had to remember to do it. We had to remember to bring it back. Or there were consequences. Gasp. It was the beginning of responsibility. Beginning of stress. And well, that just snowballed from there into middle school and high school and college, perhaps on into graduate school, continued into a job, rent, eventually into perhaps marriage and having kids, buying a house. You get the idea, right? And with stress, we tend to hike our shoulders way up by the ears and let them roll forward, closing off room in the chest for the breath. And so we end up with 40%, right? Breathing only 40% of our true capacity. So let's undo that now. Take your right hand and place it on your low belly. With your next inhale, draw that breath deep enough down to puff out the belly and move that right hand. Remember that visual of the babies and toddlers. And continue to do that with each breath. And now keep that right hand there, but take your left hand to your side body at the low ribs. Place it there, and with your next inhale, draw that breath deep enough down to first puff out the belly. Draw in more breath to fill upward and expand the rib cage and move that left hand. with each breath. First moving belly, then ribs, filling from the bottom up. Now leave that left hand on the ribs, but take the hand off the belly. Take it to the top of the chest and lay it right over the collarbones. With your next inhale, draw that breath in deep enough to puff out the belly. Fill upward, broaden the rib cage. Continue to fill all the way up and very gently lift the collarbones. Keep doing this with each breath. And if you feel like you have the pattern, go ahead and let your hands rest comfortably in your lap. But continue that breath. Moving belly, ribs, and collarbones. Filling from the bottom up. This is called a three-part breath, where those three anatomical parts moved. In Sanskrit, the language of yoga, this is called Dirga Pranayama. More importantly, notice how it feels. Notice the volume. Probably not 100% capacity, but very likely way more than 40%. Begin to visualize and feel the breath moving on its path. Feel it enter through the nose, strike the back of the throat. Feel the sensations as that breath makes its way down through the center of the chest. And feel it fill from the bottom up, much like a liquid filling a cup. Maybe even visualize the upper surface of liquid rising as you inhale. Notice the response of the body to this breath. Feel a rise of the shoulders with each inhale. With each exhale, feel your shoulders fall and settle, soften and relax. Check in with your jaw. Notice if you're clenching at all. And if so, let it go. Let the teeth part slightly. Let the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth and settle. Release the muscles of the neck. Release the shoulders downward. Let your arms go completely limp and feel heavy. Feel the heaviness of your hands resting in your lap. Take your awareness to the very center of your chest. Focus in on that repeated flow of the breath, flowing downward and upward, flowing in and out. Again and again and again. like waves against the shore. With careful awareness and with practice, the feelings created by that repeated flow of the breath within the chest can begin to feel almost like an internal massage. And because you carry your breath with you everywhere you go, every moment of every day, this sense of calm and ease, peace, is something that you can return to anytime you choose. Take just 3 more breaths at your pace. And at the bottom of your 3rd exhale, no rush, whenever you arrive there, keep your eyes closed if it's comfortable. Simply join with your palms together at heart center in what's called Anjali Mudra. And let's set an intention for this afternoon's practice. Within yoga philosophy, there are the yamas and niyamas. And to be honest, they're not all that different from the 10 Commandments. And the first of them is ahimsa, meaning non-violence, kind of like thou shalt not kill. But within yoga, we tend to view it more broadly and think of it instead as non-harming. We should be non-harming in our thoughts, non-harming in our words, and non-harming in our deeds or actions. With others, of course. But the forgotten part, and often the harder part, is that we should also be non-harming to ourselves. Open up the eyes, and let's begin. All right, before we move on to a bit of movement and some asana, take a moment to just notice for yourself how that felt for you. Did it, kind of the cueing within the body, hold your awareness. Now, your mind will wander for sure, but hopefully you're able to just simply come back, right? As we continue to cue, notice the shoulders, right? Release the jaw. Notice those sensations in the center of the chest, right? There is a reason it's called a practice, right? Because it isn't easy and it takes practice. But the longer you do it, or the more you do it, more frequent you do it, the easier it gets to really keep your awareness inward instead of being up in your very busy, very worried mind, right? All right. Well, if you're seated on anything, go ahead and remove that now. I'm going to move on to some physical movement. Now, what's the purpose? Well, the breathing is wonderful for helping to dial down. Sometimes it's a little harder to do than other times. And for some people, it's harder for them to do than others, right? To dial down and really bring the awareness here instead of up in that monkey mind. And so really the purpose of the asana, which is the physical postures and movements in yoga, was to kind of wring out stored tension in the physical body. I like to think of the visual of a wet dish rag and you wring out that water. That's the purpose of the asana, is to wring out stored physical tension so that you actually can sit and breathe and meditate and relax. Initially, yoga was only the seated meditation, and the asana came later. But it is a really helpful tool, and especially when someone is particularly keyed up, okay? So let's start to move, and let's start easy. I don't know about you, but in this stay-at-home directive associated with the coronavirus crisis, I've been sitting a lot, other than teaching my yoga, which I'm doing online now. But it's a lot of sitting to prepare for classes online and grading online and so forth. And you guys are on the flip side of that coin, so you might find yourself doing quite a bit of sitting as well. But let's just start with some nice, easy, and gentle trunk circles. And really bring that awareness inward and notice the physical sensations even such a simple movement as this can create. And then when you're ready, reverse direction. Notice if anything feels different going in the reverse direction. Let's just go one more time around. Come to neutral and then take both arms out of the side. Inhale and lift way up. Bring the palms together. Exhale down through center. And then just keep going at the pace of your breath. We don't have to do synchronized yoga, right? As you're lifting the arms and shoulders, lift the body way up out of the waist. Lengthen that spine. Feel the effects of that lift on the muscles of the trunk, muscles of the back body, and the obliques. Let's do one more this way. And as you come down through center, let's reverse. Inhale up through center. Exhale, reach way out on the way down. And let's go 3 more times. Let's marry that movement with the breath. Inhaling as you come up. Exhaling, reaching out. And one last time. There, this time take those hands behind you, right down on the mat or the floor. Walk the hands back a little. Bring the shoulder blades together and lift that chest. Don't let the head flop back. Keep that head and neck in alignment with the spine. And then release. Inhale up tall again. And this time bend both elbows and hinge forward and bring those forearms right down on your lap. Curl up in a little ball. Take a great big inhale and feel the effects of that on the back body. It's just a reminder that breathing is not only a front body activity. It really is a nice reminder that breathing is quite active. And then release. All right, take the right arm out. Inhale up tall. Exhale gently over. Don't push into it at all. Just inhale right back up and bring the other arm with you. Exhale gently over. And then keep going. Let your breath guide this flow. And so we marry the movement with the breath for a few reasons. One, it takes a little more thought and it holds your attention a little better. Two, it tends to slow us down. Right, and slow has the advantage of, again, holding your awareness inward. And it also has the advantage of being able to sense if something's not feeling right and you can back out before any harm is done. And 3, exhaling into the side bend, or in this case the stretch, is done at a time when the muscles release just a little bit. The exhale is the relaxing portion of the breath. And so if you do the stretch on the exhale, the muscles are a little more receptive to that stretch. Let's go one more time to each side. Here we go, and come on up tall. All right, bring the hands to the knees, inhale up tall. Tuck the chin, exhale, dive down and forward, and then lift that gaze, look straight ahead. Inhale, arching up. At the top, tuck the chin, roll the shoulders forward, and exhale and press back at that spot right between the shoulder blades. And when you're ready, dive down and forward again. Lift that gaze, inhale up. Tuck everything in, exhale and press back. And again, keep going at the pace of your breath. Inhaling up into cow, exhaling back into cat. And the goal here is to get all the joints between the vertebrae articulating, encouraging production of more synovial fluid to keep those tissues soft and supple. Let's do one more cow and one more cat. And then come on up. So what we're really doing here is the 6 movements of the spine, right? Or 6 is how I was taught. I actually think there's 7. So if this is your spine, right, it's basically a rod with some healthy curves. And we have done seaweed arms, side to side. We've now done cow and cat, forward and back. And the other 2 that would make up the 6 would be a twist and a twist in the other direction. The 7th we've already done, which is that axial extension upward with our sun breath, right? But what we have remaining then is our twist and our twist. And the twists are very good for the spine, but they're a little harsh. So I like to start with a little baby twist. Okay, take your fingertips to your shoulders, elbows up, and just start short, fairly rapid twists. So this is one of the movements I actually don't want you to marry with the breath, because our breath is much longer. And if we married it with the breath, we would twist fully into a deep twist. And that's actually what I'm not trying to do right now. These are just the baby twists to wake up the torso, wake up the musculature that will be involved in the twist. Right? It's just preparation. And as long as we have these arms up, let's swim. It doesn't matter if you started swimming backward or forward, because we're going to eventually reverse. But as you do this movement, notice the sensations this creates. Maybe notice movements or muscle engagement beyond the shoulders and arms. And let's reverse direction. There we go, getting things nice and loose. All right, take those arms out. Inhale, lift way up in the spine, out of the waist. Exhale, twist to your left. Lower the arms with the forward hand on the knee or thigh. Take that rear hand behind you. Press down on the mat to assist that spine coming up tall and straight. Your head can be in the twist, but it doesn't have to. If there's any tenderness, put your head wherever it's comfortable. Keep your awareness on those muscles affected by the twist. If you can use your exhale to bring to those muscles just a bit of softness. If the answer is a hard no, back out of your twist a little bit and try again. We tend to be an all or nothing, go big or go home kind of society. And yet we might be better served by going a bit less into each posture. After your exhale, release, unwind, inhale up tall. Exhale and twist the other way. And again, take that rear hand to press down to come up. And that tall, straight spine will twist more safely and more easily and comfortably. And as you're breathing and keeping your awareness on those muscles, again, ask yourself, is this where I want to be, or would I be better served by backing out a little bit? And after your exhale, no rush, whenever you're ready. Inhale the arms up, unwind, and lower down. And we're going to come down on our back in just a moment, but before we do, a little talk about the edge. So in yoga, right, we all think of yoga as stretching. It's actually a word that makes me cringe. Not that stretching itself is inherently bad, but when people stretch, they tend to almost always overstretch, right? And so that's the critical importance of marrying that movement with the breath and keeping that internal awareness and moving slowly. So here's the edge. And on this side is pain and potential injury. We don't want to go there. And on this side, it tends to be comfortable, right, and safe. But if you're too far over, right, you're not really going to benefit in terms of, gaining some flexibility and in terms of, releasing tension. But you want to slowly and mindfully approach the edge, and you don't want to smack up to it, right, because you're going to trigger the stretch reflex, and the muscles will tense to protect you, right? And so you want to slowly approach the edge. You'll know where it is. Takes a little practice, right? If ever in doubt, less is more. But slowly and mindfully approach, find that edge, and actually back off slightly. And just kind of hang out there, right? And over time, in doing that approach, the edge will move, okay? All right, make your way down on your back. Make sure you got room behind you and it's safe to do so. Come on down. And bring one knee in and then the other. And just rock side to side, massage the back. And as you do this, walk your hips away from you to lengthen the spine and flatten the back and be more comfortable. Come to stillness. Take the legs straight up to the ceiling. Hold on wherever comfortable. And just point and flex, lengthening the muscles of the legs. And turn it into some ankle circles. Get the ankle joint mobilized. And then reverse. And then engage the core and take the arms straight up as well in dead bug. Notice the low back pressing down into the mat. You want to keep that low back pressing down. So engage the core. Take an inhale, and with your exhale, start to lower the arms overhead. And start to slowly lower those legs away from you, but only go as far as you can, keeping that low back pressing down into the mat. If you notice it wants to rise, bring those legs and arms back up tall. And let's just do that 2 more times. Exhale them down, don't go too low. Bring it back up when you know that back wants to lift. And go for a third. Bring it on up. Grab loosely behind the knees. And if it's comfortable on your back, rock forward and back. If it's not, just rock side to side again. And then everybody, come all the way up. There we go. All right. Walk the feet closer. Grab behind the knee and the other knee. And just balance. And then maybe release a hand. Maybe take turns. Maybe go for both. In boat pose. And then come on down. Take the knees wide and bring the feet sole to sole. Bring the feet in as far as is comfortable. And you can grab the ankles. You can grab the feet like pages of a book. You're going to wrap around the toes, whatever's comfortable for you. And then bring your spine up nice and tall. Inhale. And what I don't want you to do is curl down, right? Keep that tall, straight back. Inhale here. And as you exhale, keep the chest lifted, keep the back straight, but bring that chest forward just a bit. Probably won't get very far. The hips will stop you. Did you feel it? Stay right there at that stopping point. Take another inhale. And as you exhale, see if you can consciously release the hamstrings, the hips, the glutes, muscles of the low back. So this is bound angle, but it's my favorite posture to use to teach people how to control the tension in their muscles, or how to actively and consciously release tension in their muscles. So when you think about it, what is it that makes a muscle contract? It's the mind, right? It's the brain. And so, within safe limits, we can consciously encourage those muscles to lengthen. Keep trying with each exhale to release those muscles, and don't be frustrated if you didn't get very far. because like I said, it's called a practice for a reason. So, but I often like to say, if we were to stick with this little exercise for 10 full minutes, we would end up in a very different position than that in which we started. Of course, I used to say that, and I hadn't actually tested it. And then when I was at my yoga therapy training one weekend, on my mat, listening to the trainer, I decided to give it a whirl, and it's just amazingly true. Once you've found how to do it, right? And so I'm not pulling myself down. I'm really just releasing down. Pulling, by now I would have activated the stretch reflex, right? And things would hurt. There, come on up. All right, throw those feet to the right and come up on hands and knees. All right, come back a little bit. If you have a mat, come to the back of the mat. Or if not, just make it so you have room in front of you now. And put the big toes together. The knees can be narrow or wide. I like to make room for my Gouda and Paleo. And then just come on down into child's pose. Come only as far as is comfortable for you. So you can stack your fists and put your forehead there. If you like a little more openness. You can stack flat palms and go a little lower. Or if it's comfortable for you, take it all the way down to the mat or the floor. And just linger a moment in child's pose. Stay in this position, but start to reach the arms forward, nice and long, turning it into an active child's pose. And now start to lift the head, but don't move your hands. Leave them right where they are. Come on up on the knees and walk them narrow if they were wide. And then take your hands almost one full handprint forward. Right? This is not perfect. Each person has different body proportions, but it's a starting point. Okay? Press back with the hips as you exhale. And with your inhale, come up and forward. Keep the arms straight. Don't bend the elbows. And let the hips slowly sink down. Be really mindful and careful with that back. If something doesn't feel right, back right out. And when you're in this, take a peek at those hands. They should be right beneath the shoulders, but don't move them if they aren't, right, until the weight comes off, right? So notice where they are, notice where you need to move to adjust. And press back with your exhale and adjust those hands now. And let's do it again. Inhale your way up and forward. Keep the arms straight, slowly exhale those hips down. And we end up in cobra, but a top-down cobra rather than pushing from the ground up. Let's do one more. Inhale up and forward. Exhale those hips down. A little slice of heaven. All right, come on back. And this time, come into table pose. So the hands are right beneath the shoulders, knees are beneath the hips. All right. Take an inhale at center. As you exhale, take the right ear to the right shoulder and bring the right hip forward. And with your breath, when you're ready, inhale back to center. Exhale, take that left ear to the left shoulder, bring that left hip forward. And just go to each side one more time. Inhaling to center. Exhaling into the side bend. Inhale to center. Exhale into the side bend. And when you are ready, come back to center. Now lift the tailbone, drop the belly, inhale as you lift your gaze. And then tuck the tailbone, lift the center back, drop your head as you exhale. Let's do a couple more each way. Inhale up into cow. tailbone, lift that back, exhale into cat. One more of each. Nice. All right. Pick up your left hand and bring it closer to center. Put the weight there. Inhale the right arm up to the ceiling. Cock the wrist. Exhale, thread that arm through between the other arm and the body and just hover. Activate the core. And with your inhale, come right out and inhale up again. Exhale, thread it through. And let's do a third and final one. Inhale it up, nice and open. Exhale, reach way in this time. And come on down on the shoulder, side of the head. If it's not comfortable, if you happen to have your big fat, book for some homework sitting there, you can rest your head on that. And after your exhale, no rush, press down on that left hand, bring the right arm out, and let's switch sides. You got right hand close to center. Inhale that left arm up. Cock the wrist, exhale, thread it through and hover. And do two more at the pace of your breath. The third one, reach way in, come down on that shoulder, come down on the side of the head, maybe on the floor or mat, or onto a book or block. And after your exhale, when you're ready, press down to come up. Walk the hands closer and pick up your right knee. Take that right foot a bit of distance away from you. If you do have a yoga mat, I like to place the heel right at the edge of it. And then just start to move the knee in a circle in order to move the hip in a circle. So we're just lubricating that hip joint. Hips tend to stiffen up a lot on us with all our sitting. And reverse direction. You get that synovial fluid moving around and coating all the surfaces. Movement encourages the body to make more synovial fluid. And let's bring that knee home and let's do the other side. Pick up that left knee. And again, just start some circles. There's a lot of wonderful postures in yoga that will open the hips. This is a nice way to loosen them if people are particularly stiff. And it's nice because there's no weight on it, right? So pigeon pose is a heavenly posture if you're familiar with it and if you've done it. But it can be harsh for anyone that's new to yoga. There we go. Bring that knee home. All right. Now, tuck the toes. Spread the fingers wide. Press down. Lift the knees. Lift the hips up, let the neck release completely and the head drop and dangle. Give it a little shake. Step back far enough with the feet that the heels are lifted and never force those down, right? Keep it gentle. Start to alternately bend each knee a bit more and walk your dog. This is downward facing dog is the name of this posture. I like to come to stillness and then rock way up on the toes and lower a bit and then rock way up. Lower is just a nice stretch for the bottoms of the feet and the toes. And then bend the knees generously and walk the feet forward or walk the hands backward, whichever works for you. Bend the knees, lift the chest, inhale up. And if you're familiar with yoga, coming up that way might be foreign, right? It's really my creation because I work with so many people who are my age or older and have bad backs, right? So a normal sun breath might be, lifting with the low back, like that. But if you have problems in the low back, I like to have my people bend the knees low, like they're, squat low like you're squatting in a potty, as one of my participants said to me. Take the gaze forward, and it transfers the work to the quads instead of low back. And inhale up. Nice. All right. Take the feet about hip width apart, roughly parallel. Lift one set of toes, spread them wide and put them down. Lift the other, spread them wide and put them down. Bend the knees, only to straighten them again. Notice pressing down brings you up. Engage the leg muscles. Draw the tailbone down, belly button in, lift out of the waist, and lift through the crown of the head. And then the final part is engage those arms and fingers actively downward in mountain pose. All of the postures in yoga are asana, and this one's actually easy to remember in the Sanskrit name, because when I engage those arms and fingers down, I think to myself, ta-da! And this is called Tadasana, mountain pose. But notice how it makes you feel. I mean, it's called mountain pose, so imagine why it might have that name. Now keep all this muscle engagement. Roll the thumbs to the outside and inhale up. Stop with whatever spacing feels right for your shoulders. And if you lifted the shoulders up as you inhale the arms up, keep the arms long, but drop those shoulders down. This is tall mountain or Talasana. Bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, extend just the pointer fingers in steeple mudra. Inhale, lift out of the waist. As you exhale, press your hips to the left and let the upper body respond to the right. Go only as far as is comfortable, and if you went too far, back out a little and reach to the fingertips. And crescent moon. It's actually generally called half moon, but I call it crescent moon because there's another posture called half moon. Come on up and release. Take another big inhale and lift. As you exhale, push your hips to the right and let that upper body respond to the left. And again, did you go big or go home? Back out a little and instead reach for that stretch of the side body. And come on up. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And release the clasp of the hands. Let the arms come down and feel the release of those muscles. All right, take the arms down, inhale up. Exhale the arms behind you and put flat palms against the low back. Inhale up out of your waist. And as you exhale, press the hips forward. Let the upper body come back, a nice stretch. And again, don't let that head flop back. There's an artery back there. We don't want to pinch off. I call this Grandpa's morning stretch. This is actually not a yoga pose. It just feels good. Come on up. Grandpa was a wise man. All right, arms go down, inhale up. Take them behind you again, and this time, interlace those fingers, knuckles towards the floor. Draw the knuckles down, open up that chest for a stretch. Keep a little bend in the knees, inhale up out of the waist. Exhale and hinge forward into Yoga Mudra. And the arms can come forward with you, but they don't have to. You can just rest them on your back if you have some shoulder sensitivity. And release the clasp of the hands, let the arms fall. Step back, left foot. Now, we don't want the feet right behind one another. It's hard to balance. So heel toe that forward foot over to the side edge of the mat. And then press down in that foot to come up into Warrior One. Now, if you've done yoga, most warriors have the foot flat, the rear foot flat and rotated. I happen to be trained in the Kripalu lineage, so we have our toes forward, heel lifted, but tomato, tomato, you do you. Right, do what feels good. All right, wiggle your left fingers and take that arm forward and keep it going down and around in a circle. Let it turn the hips and turn that foot, which is now flat and rotated. Keep that forward knee bent right over the ankle. Come into Warrior Two. Stay as you are. Drop the back arm. Flip that forward palm. Reach for the ceiling. An exalted warrior. Peaceful warrior. It's a couple names. And again, if you go to Instagram, you're going to see those people reach way back. You can stay more vertical and just simply reach tall, because what we're after here is a stretch of the side body. Come back to Warrior Two. Bend the forward arm, hinge forward, rest the forearm on the thigh, through the chest sideways, and then reach that rear arm forward with the palm down. for extended side angle. To come out of it, press down in that forward foot to come up. Slowly straighten the forward leg. Don't lock the knee, but keep it straight. Engage those muscles to help you reach the hand forward. Take that hand to the shin and reach for the ceiling. Coming into triangle or trikonasana. Notice I don't have my hand all the way down on the mat. It's a matter of body proportions. When I bring my hand too low, my hip comes forward, right? My body rotates toward the mat. The goal here is to keep the body in a single plane, like you're sandwiched between two planes of glass. And there's no way I can do that with my hand too low. So the floor is not necessarily the goal. Bend the forward knee, press down to come up. Take that rear hand and simply swing and step. Let's get the other side. Take the arms down, inhale up. And put the palms together. This time let's sink down into chair. Keep the chest lifted, keep the gaze forward. And then curl on down, lift the hips, bring the hands to the mat, step back, right foot. And again, you don't want the feet directly one in front of the other. Heel toe that left foot over the side, put the knee over the ankle, press down to come up. And warrior one. Wiggle the right fingers. Take that arm forward and keep it going all the way around. Let it turn the hips. Let that foot land flat. Drop the back hand, flip that forward palm, reach tall. Exalted warrior again. And come forward. Bend the forward arm. Rest it on the thigh. Keep the chest sideways. And reach that arm forward. If your shoulder's tender at all, you can put the hand on the shoulder. You can put the hand somewhere on the side body. The goal here really is that rotation, because it creates a stretch kind of down near the right hip. Come out of it, press down in that forward foot. Come on up. Slowly straighten the forward knee. Don't lock it. Bring that hand forward a bit. Take that hand to the shin and reach for the ceiling. Triangle. Trikonasana. Bend the forward knee. Come back to warrior two. Swing and step. There. And in the interest of time, we're going to inhale up and exhale all the way down. Step back, left foot. Step back, right foot. Lift those hips up high, coming once again into downward facing dog. And this is normally where I throw in a back strengthener and prone pigeon, but not knowing my audience, I love pigeon, but pigeon can be a pretty intense posture. And so instead, we're going to do a supine on our back. So make your way to your back. Bend both knees, put the feet flat on the mat. And then bring that right knee towards you, rotate it, and put that right ankle on the left thigh. Take the right hand and press that knee away from you to create a stretch in the front of the hip. Notice the position of the stretch in part one of the two-part pigeon. Release that press with the hand. Keep the legs exactly as they are. Reach the arms through and around that left thigh. Flex both feet and pull everything in. Be sure you return your head down on the mat. You don't stress the neck. This is part two of pigeon. Notice where you feel the stretch now. the other side. Bring that left knee in, put the left ankle on the right thigh, press that knee away with the left hand. Release that press. Keep the legs as they are, thread the arms through and around the right thigh. Flex the feet to protect the knees. Pull everything in. Place the head back down on the mat. Release that thigh and cross the feet. Take the feet out to the side edges of the mat, or in other words, wider than hip width. Take the arms out to a T. Inhale. And as you exhale, let both knees gently fall to the right and turn your head to the left. Turning into a gentle twist. At the bottom of your exhale, no rush. Inhale both knees up to center. Exhale both knees to the left and turn your head to the right. After your exhale, when you're ready, bring those knees back up and then make your way to a comfortable position for Shavasana, or relaxation. So if you have any tenderness in your back, you can stay exactly like this, with the feet wide, knees bent, and let those knees just fall inwards. You don't have to work to keep them up. Or if your back is comfortable doing so, maybe extend the legs and come into traditional corpse pose, or really you can be in any position that you like for relaxation. So take your time to make your way there. And feel free to stop along the way, maybe put some socks back on or a sweatshirt. If you happen to have a blanket, feel free to cover up. Because as we once again slow the breath, it'll slow the heart rate and you'll cool down. Do any little movements or micro adjustments that might be helpful. Might help you find a comfortable position. Invite your awareness back inward and check in again with the physical body. Notice how it feels now after our practice. Bring your awareness to your breath and notice it now. If need be, again, slow your breath down. deep enough to move the belly and fill from the bottom up. Notice the contact with the mat or the floor beneath. Feel the support they provide. Know that you are supported and that you can allow yourself to completely let go and simply breathe. Take your awareness to the very top of your head, where your hair joins your scalp. Begin to picture it in your mind's eye and imagine it beginning to tingle. Take your focus down a bit to your forehead, your temples, to your brow, the space between the eyebrows, to the eye sockets and the eyes within. Bring awareness to your nose, cheekbones, the soft flesh of the cheeks, and the ears. Take awareness to your jaw, to the gums and the teeth within, to your lips, chin, neck, and collarbones. Take your focus out to your shoulders, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, to your wrists, and the many bones and muscles of the hands. Bring your awareness to the tips of your thumbs, tips of your index fingers, tips of your middle fingers, tips of your ring fingers, and the tips of your pinky fingers. Take your focus back up to your chest and sternum, waist and navel, to your hip bones, upper legs, knees, lower legs, to your ankles, and the many bones and muscles of the feet. Take your awareness to the tips of your big toes, tips of your second toes, tips of your third toes, tips of your fourth toes, and to the tips of your fifth or pinky toes. Notice again the contact with the mat or the floor beneath. Simply feel now how much you have settled in, and do nothing but breathe. good this evening, or this afternoon rather. Extend the arms overhead. Take a nice long stretch. And then feel free to stay exactly as you are, or if you wish, roll over to your preferred side. Curl up in a ball, use your arm as a pillow. Simply find, once again, comfort. And take 3 more breaths, long and slow. At the bottom of your 3rd exhale, whenever you arrive there, keep your eyes closed, press down into the mat or floor, make your way slowly back up to seated. When you're ready, join me again with your palms together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Let's remind ourselves of our intention for this afternoon's practice and to carry with us off the mat. Ahimsa, meaning non-harming. We should be non-harming in our thoughts, non-harming in our words, non-harming in our deeds, to others, of course. We should also be non-harming to ourselves. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace within, peace with others, and peace universally. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. So take a moment and just try to notice how you feel after that practice. Did it change anything for you? And there is no right or wrong answer, right? The answer may be no, or did it, right? So give it a little thought. And then let's start with the question I had asked at the beginning, which is, how are all of you doing? What would you say is your level of stress or anxiety? Is it different now after that practice? Has that needle shifted a bit? And maybe it didn't for you, but if that practice did help to dial things down for you, to help alleviate some of that stress, at least for the moment, let's revisit that second question I had asked at the beginning, which was, is the stress showing up internally within you, right? Or in ways that are personal to you, perhaps in your sleep, perhaps in your choices of food, right? Maybe knots in your stomach. How is it that the stress is manifesting for you? And the second question, if you remember, was, is your stress spilling out into your interactions with others? Right? And then think about the practice and how you feel at this point. And do you think that a practice like that would impact in any way your interactions with others? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. And there's a hope. But, what's the reality for you after that practice? Do just a bit of thought. If If you want, you can even jot down kind of your sense of how that felt, right? How you responded to it. And we are going to move on to just a couple short additional things, not another full practice, I promise. But we learned one breathing technique, or one pranayama, which was Dirga Pranayama, the 3-part breath. One note about that is sometimes people will have a hard time doing that breath. Either it'll be confusing, or sometimes you'll encounter a person that has, maybe a respiratory illness that makes it difficult for them to do that breath. My mother has COPD, unfortunately. And so if you encounter a person like that and you want to use that as a tool to help them, bear in mind that it's not necessarily easy for everyone. And so when I encounter someone who I can tell is struggling, I'll back way off on the language and simply say, just take your breath maybe a little bit deeper than your norm, right? Just a little bit slower than your norm. And even that is beneficial, right? Remember why we breathe. We're getting that oxygen that is so critical, right? So even just a little bit more is better. So just a cautionary note about that. And then I want to teach you, I want to help you learn another breathing technique. This one is, it's a little more difficult, and it's one that I don't know if you want to work with other individuals with it, but it's good for you to help dial your stress down. And what's nice about it is it's very effective in a much shorter time frame. So the Dirga Pranayama we did for about 15 minutes, right? To be honest, any that you do is better. I like to talk about the power of even one breath, right? So as an example, have you ever been in a real ugly, knockdown, drag-out, screaming match with someone that you love dearly, right? Maybe your sister, or your brother, or parent, or boyfriend or girlfriend. You're really going at it for whatever reason. And because you know that person so well, you could, and in the heat of the moment, you're almost ready to blurt out something that would be really hurtful to them because you know them so well, right? But then you get to that point and you go, and you stop, and you walk away without saying it. Thank goodness, right? And we've all said it a time or two, but often we catch ourselves, right? And it's because of that breath, right? That frustrated, you're taking me to the limit. Oh, I should walk away, okay? That's the power of even just one breath, right? It gave you that pause, just that little moment to think and decide, I really don't want to go there because I know that would really hurt them. And you walk away, right? So, Dirga Pranayama, if you read, how long should we do it for? Well, they'll say 20 minutes would be great. Well, sure, 20 minutes would be great. But if you yourself, or if you're working with a client and they're really stressed out, if you just tell them, take 5 slow, deep, intentional breaths, then it really makes a difference, okay? So any amount is a good amount, right? Anything you actually do is fabulous, okay? But here's a technique that really is very effective in a short time frame, okay? It's called Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. And so take your right hand, okay, and fold down the index finger and the middle finger. So like this. And if you have glasses, it's a little annoying, so I apologize, but I don't like to plug off the nostril because let's be honest, it's full of glue and it gets glued shut and it feels annoying. And you don't need to, okay? So take your thumb, take it to the bridge of your nose, slide it over to the right, just slightly, not all the way to the side, but just a little off that ridge. And then slide it down slowly and not very far, and you'll find where that bony cartilage ends, like real hard cartilage ends. And press right there. And can you feel it? You've actually closed off flow through that nostril without plugging the nostril, gluing it shut. Right, and then test it on the other side. Take that ring finger, slide a little down, and find the end of that hard structure. And notice that closes off the left side, right? So we're going to go back and forth, right? And this is the traditional hand formation, I guess, or hand position to do it. I actually like to cheat, right? Because, as you do this a while, the arm gets heavy. So I like to take those 2 fingers that would otherwise be folded down and use them for a little support of my forehead. And since I have a shelf, I actually like to take advantage of that and rest my arm there. And then take the thumb, close off just the right nostril, and take a few breaths, just like that. Nice and slow. And the next time that you happen to take an inhale, close off the left side with that ring finger and open the right. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. And switch. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. And switch. Exhale right. Inhale right. And switch. And just keep going. And so the pattern is exhale, inhale, switch. Go at the pace of your breath. And the next time you happen to be breathing through the left nostril, just stay there for several breaths. No rush. And then just let it go. Let that hand come down. Let that breath resume through both nostrils. Again, kind of check in and see if that made a difference for you. Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. It's actually really well supported in the literature that it's an effective tool, and it's effective over a much shorter time frame than some of the other techniques. And that's what makes it so awesome to learn, right? I often teach pranayama and meditation as, kind of a standalone series of classes. And my goal is always to teach people several different techniques in order to fill a toolbox, right, with a variety of tools that they can use. Because at any given moment, sometimes your usual go-to is not working, right? Maybe the stress level is just higher than normal, or for whatever reason, it's just not working. And so I like to equip my people to have other tools to choose from, right? And so now you guys have 2 tools at least to go with, okay? All right, so really what we've done is we learned pranayama, Dirga Pranayama, the 3-part breath, and we incorporated that in with an asana practice that followed, right, to help wring out that stored physical tension so that by the time you got to shavasana, relaxation, which I like to call yoga dessert, hopefully you felt even more able to do the relaxation. And we learned another relaxing breath, Nadi Shodhana, right? At a time like this when many people are stressed out, that's really important. Now, the purpose of Nadi Shodhana and the others is really to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So we have our voluntary nervous system, the somatic nervous system. These breathing techniques work with the autonomic nervous system. And so there's two parts, right? The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight, right? So you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and you have to run quickly, right? Or you have to grab a big stick and fight back. So you're gonna need that nervous system, right? In our modern world, we're not being chased by saber-toothed tigers, but there's other situations where we need to dial up and have that energy, right? Be prepared for something intense. But unfortunately in our world, a lot of us are chronically stuck in our sympathetic nervous system with it overactivated. And so these are techniques to dial down and stimulate instead the parasympathetic nervous system. With Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breathing, if you breathe through the right nostril, right, it's argued that it stimulates that sympathetic nervous system. If you breathe through the left, it stimulates the parasympathetic, right? So you might argue, well, why not just breathe through the left alone, right, if that's what you're after? Well, the studies have shown that it's actually much more effective to alternate back and forth. But if you notice, we started with breathing on the left, and we ended with breathing on the left with a little kick in that direction, okay? Having said that, there are some people who are a bit stuck in their parasympathetic nervous system, right, as overactivated. And so they suffer from depression. And so the last thing I want to show you today is a technique that can help with that. And so come to standing and place your feet wider than hip width for a little more stability. And then let your arms be completely loose, right? And start to swing, start to rotate the hips and swing the arms. And as you really get going, let the opposite heel lift, right? Get that whole body into the mix. And so this is a twist, right? We did the twist in seated position, we did the twist kneeling. Here it is in standing. So those 6 movements of the spine we talked about can be done in this manner, but this is also a way to kind of energize someone who's feeling a little low, right? Just loosen up that spine again, and then just, oops, not that one. Here, let's just do a little side bend, right? Just because we sat in Shavasana for so long. There. And now having done that, let's finish with the breathing technique that energizes, one of many, right? There are several breath techniques that energize. This is one that I like because it's a bit gentle. And as someone with an anxiety disorder, I actually won't do the other energizing breaths because they're too much for me, right? But this is one I've had great success with, working with individuals with depression, right? And so soften the knees, right? And get them bouncing a little bit. And you notice how the arms just want to swing? So let them, right? Let them kind of swing forward and back with that bounce up and down. And then let it get big. And let it get bigger. And let it get bigger. And now marry the movement with a breath. So you're inhaling up and exhaling down. Inhale up, exhale down, and take it really big. Exhale down, ready? One more, really big. And then let it get smaller. And then come to stillness. How'd that feel? You feel energized, right? Hopefully. That is, and the name escapes me at the moment. That is, holy cow, how did I forget? Oh my gosh. Let's see, if I swing and can I remember the name? I'm gonna have to email you the name because I can't think of it right now. I'm too relaxed. There. No, it's totally escaping me. So I'll have to email. Or even better, after this recorded class, I'm gonna hold a live Zoom chat for anybody who would like to come on and ask questions. So you're all required to come on so I can remember the name of that breath, right? But any questions that you might have, and we can expand on things we did here, adding more techniques if you'd like, or I can clarify some things that perhaps seemed confusing. But there you go. So yoga is, I think, in my opinion, of course I am biased, but in my opinion, incredibly magical for helping with issues like stress and anxiety, and even the flip side, right? The other side of the coin, depression. It can help people with body image issues, right? It can help with trauma, okay? So it's really a powerful tool that I hope you'll consider as you're working with your future clients. Thanks very much. Take care, everyone.